I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. CAVIL'S, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball, So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. CAVIL'S with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is out on assignment. He actually should be joining us in the second part of the show. With that being said, as I get my wig tight and split, as they say, welcome to episode 601 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, i.e. all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small. From the NEIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. And we'll be talking about HBCU sports business over this show and over the next couple of weeks as football coaches are being hired. But I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. As we say, we like to call it HBCU Sports Pedagogy for short. We're filming from our home studios in Sydney and Signal Live at KCOH 1230 M studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Today's episode of HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and education consulting and data analytics. I had to throw that in there. THG was responsible for making sure that Charles Bishop had his celebratory dinner. I didn't get a chance to salute him with a cigar because he made sure we smoked them after the game.
I'm very appreciative to THG Agency for the way they took care of me Saturday night. Very appreciative.
Let's get it. I do owe him a cigar. I will make sure we get that to him. With that being said, I have some breaking news. We're going to announce the head coach of HBCU Sports. No, it's not that program. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait till the proper people say it. But we do have an announcement as people have churned in the social media. It's been announced, HBCU Game Day, some other different sites as well are putting out there that Michael Vick is the next head football coach of Norfolk State Spartans. Behold, the green and gold.
Where is Lemon Blow?
He's from Virginia Tidewater area, to be specific. Played at Virginia Tech, was everything in the NFL, particularly his time in Atlanta. Rebuilt his career in a lot of ways at Philadelphia. So it'll be interesting to see. Just when we thought that door was kind of closed for these big name celebrity coaches, I still don't say there's quite anything like Coach Prime, but Coach Eddie George, very solid in terms of a Heisman. Certainly what he did in the pros was more than respectable. Michael Vick. Now, we never would know about Ed Reed. That chapter never really got started. But you must say, Coach Prime era at Jackson State was certainly impactful, certainly successful in just about every measure you could measure. Eddie George closed the chapter. He gets a 4-way share of a championship in the OVC Big South, and including a at-large bid to the playoffs. So those teams, I would say, for the most part, have ended up well, particularly when you add on the next chapter of Coach Prime and what he's been able to do at Colorado, as was just announced on Saturday with his player that transferred from Jackson State, number 1 ranked player coming out of high school, now gets to stamp his name on a Heisman Trophy. I won't take it any further than that. Everybody knows who we're talking about. But with that being said, Michael Vick, new head coach, Norfolk State University. So let's take some time and just ask everybody, what are your thoughts? Start with you, Wilton.
No, I think
let me say this before I ask you your thoughts. Let me do this.
Okay.
I apologize. We have A.D. Drew, Charles Bishop, and Wilton Jackson the second. A.D. Drew, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Dr. Cavill. Getting used to that shelf being empty in the FAMU closet, on the FAMU bookshelf. There's a place. We still have it, but you can't display it front and center because once you have it, they can't take it away from you. Well, NCAA they can take it away from you, but we know who won it on.
They don't even do that anymore.
They don't even do that anymore.
I hope you took a lot of pictures.
But you can't but you can't put it on the mantle over the fireplace anymore. You've got to put it on the bookshelf in the garage now. So
dang. Charles, how you doing today?
You can imagine how I'm doing, Doc. I'm doing phenomenal. Let me say this. Let me shout out all the people who came up to us and spoke to us and acknowledged our show down in Atlanta. That was very gratifying for a lot of people to, thank us for what we do and things of that nature for HBCU Sports. I'm very appreciative to all the fans who came up and spoke.
I agree with you. Good job. Wilton, how are you doing today?
I am doing good. Fresh off the Celebration Bowl, and now it's recruiting season and coaching changes and all of that. It never stops. It keeps going, and so I'm good.
Very well said. Well, I'm gonna stick with you as I plan to start off. What are your thoughts in terms of the announcement that Michael Vick will be becoming the head football coach of Norfolk State Spartans that play football in the MEAC?
Well, I'm glad to see it finally come to fruition. It's a job that we thought that he would probably take months ago. It's been in the works for quite some time. We now see him get this opportunity to in a way resurrect Norfolk State. To where the program can be. For us that's in this millennial phase, Michael Vick was one of the big. If you were a kid in like the early 2000s, from like 2003, 4, 5, when you were playing Madden, you wanted to play with Michael Vick in the Falcons. I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those kids that was playing.
That's how you know, huh?
Oh, absolutely. So granted, he won't be out on the field, running and jumping and sliding and dodging, but at the same time, hopefully he'll be able to get the players in this team to buy into his concepts, hire a good coaching staff, and really see Norfolk State get back to where it can be. Because this was a program that we thought would, somewhat make some noise this year. Especially after that first game against FAMU that they lost. But obviously things have changed. Michael Vick is in the chair now, and I'm excited to see what comes from it, especially with like the success that we saw. Of course, he's going to get compared to Deion Sanders and what Deion Sanders did at Jackson State. But at the same time, I'm glad to see him get this opportunity, and I think that he could be the best fit to really, really change this program.
Good one. A.D. Drew?
the question at hand is how well will Michael Vick relate with this generation Wilton, while you, I, Charles, Dr. Cavill would have been so excited to be recruited by a player or a coach the caliber of the name of a Michael Vick. Mm-hmm. Does Michael Vick's name resonate with the current 18 to 22-year-olds that will be playing college football? That's going to be the litmus test. You know, we saw it with the previous coach at Jackson State, where his name still resonated and people wanted to get with him. Yeah. Now he was able to bring in wide receivers and D-backs were kind of like the big names that flocked there initially before everybody else started flocking there. So we're going to be seeing quarterbacks and other skill players start flocking to Norfolk State, and let's think about it. These two coaches that we're talking about were literal freaks on the football field. Coach Prime was a freak when he played football. And so was Michael Vick, was a freak of nature when he played the football field. So, will Vick have his Hunter that he can bring in to play quarterback to emulate what he did, just like Prime brought in Hunter? Or will we just get a close facsimile, a serviceable quarterback? And, I'm glad to see the resurrection story of Michael Vick. We all know what happened in the past, the blip on the radar. So I am glad that it was us who let him come back home and to give him an opportunity to get his feet wet once again.
Fascinating points there. Charles, and I'll come back to you, Wilton. Sound like you wanted to retort. Let me let Charles give his first thought process up. But when you say that, do you think one of the things that A.D. Drew brought up was his ability to recruit? In addition to whatever other thoughts you want to share, do you believe he'll be able to recruit within the range of talent that would be at Norfolk State?
Absolutely. I think his name still resonates, just as Coach Prime's name resonated. I think, first and foremost, you're excited for any fan base that gets reinvigorated by a hire. There are times where we see a hire that happens and there's kind of a collective, okay. But, this is, the sort of hire, that sort of, people are, pretty excited about with regards to behold the green and gold, one of the best slogans in all of HBCU football. So I'm really excited for that fan base. And now let's get to see what this Norfolk State team can do with Michael Vick at the helm, and to see, can he, that's a rich recruiting area that he has in regards to that Tidewater area, DMV, as you go up the East Coast as well. See if he can bring in some names over there at Norfolk State and see what they can do over there in MEAC.
Wilton, I know you wanted to provide an extra thought on this as well, so go ahead.
Just going back to something that AD said, as far as actually two things. When he said that obviously we know what happened with Michael Vick in the past, it is going to come up. But I think also when you look at where his position would be in the program now, dealing with these younger players and this younger generation of players, I also think that he'll be able to relate to them because he knows some of the mistakes that he made. So he would not want them to follow in those same footsteps. So he can tell 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 year old, hey, dog, hey, you don't want to go that route. This is not the life that you want. And if I'm that age and haven't done some research, even if I don't know Michael Vick that well, I'm probably 9 times out of 10 going to give some thought to what he's saying. Not just because his name is Michael Vick, but because he is Michael Vick and he has gone on to do some things and lived a life where it wasn't necessarily perfect all the time. I think I'm going to listen to him because he's going to be able to tell me the things that he did wrong to make sure that, to put me on a path that I don't do those things and also set me on a path for success.
I got a quick
question.
And I want to come to this question that Russell Hayes said. And I think this is an interesting question. How many homecoming games can Vick at Norfolk State sell out? And obviously, we're not going to count their game. This brings up an interesting dynamic when you put together your homecoming schedule. Obviously, you may have been thinking about Norfolk State with a new head coach being your homecoming opponent because that may have been an easier opponent that you would want for homecoming. But now also, do you factor in the fact that, hey, we may have this gate draw here for homecoming for this game? Do I actually make this my homecoming game now? Because this game may draw a gate anyway because it's Michael Vick. So do I now make somewhere else my homecoming game where I may have made Norfolk State my homecoming game previously? Those discussions that were probably most of us had those discussions in October and November as we started looking at the next year calendar.
I think that's a great question. I think it's interesting even more so in the MEAC because they naturally played their last 5 games at the back end of the year, which for some schools may be a little later in the homecoming cycle than they would like. But it'd be even fascinating when you think about some of the non-conference matchups.
Yeah,
you may have in the middle October, late September for some schools. It'll be fascinating to kind of see how that goes. To your point, was interesting is one thing that I thought that Prime was able to provide what I call his unicorn status is that he really was able to keep himself in the mainstream with being, on ESPN, on the television in regards to NFL, like where he still, although he was past what people would say is heyday in terms of folks, he was still talking about football to those that follow the game, which we know is larger than life in terms of NFL. So Vick has done not been necessarily on that platform at that level, but he's also he's part of the streaming world, where he's done quite a bit of streaming broadcasts, interviews that kept his name out there, which oddly enough resonates more with this generation than just the television. Mm-hmm. And so I'm fascinated with that. So with that, let's take our first break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll bring another one of our co-hosts on to the next segment, and we'll get into some news updates. And then as we move in the third segment, we're going to talk a little bit about the poll. We'll give you the poll ranking again since it's the final one, and see if anybody has any final thoughts on the poll ranking. So we'll do that in the third segment. Next segment, we'll go back over some news again. So catch up with us. Stay with us, as we'll be right back after this first break.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta CAVIL'S of Dr. CAVIL'S Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. CAVIL'S Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, trying to get down. It's like a loop machine.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Miller inside the HBCU Sports Lab. David, before we get everybody to give a chance to get a little bit of any other news they want to get out there, I think it'd be unfair if we didn't give you the chance to talk about the news that we discussed in the first segment about Norfolk State officially hiring Michael Vick. What are your thoughts on the hire, particularly coming from North Carolina A&T that made a hire last week that went a more traditional route in terms of moving a coach up from D2. Somebody has been formerly with the program and knows the desires of where the Aggies certainly want to be.
I think for good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. I think for the signing of Michael Vick, I think it's huge for Norfolk State, and I think for Norfolk State's perspective, it's low risk. And the reason why I say that is because the expectations have they've never kind of exceeded them from that standpoint. I mean, they've won one MEAC title that's been vacated since they've been Division I. They haven't really been that good of a football team in a very long period of time. So I think for Michael Vick to get this job is going to be big for the area. It's going to because he's from the area. They're going to give him as much time as he wants, and I think it'll also captivate that fan base. Like, I think the homecomers are going to be bigger. Every time he has a matchup on the road is going to be bigger now. I think it's going to help not only Norfolk State but the rest of the teams within the MEAC as well. So I think it's a good news story from that standpoint. I love the hire. I think but from Norfolk State's perspective, I think it's low risk, and I think for Vick's perspective, I think it's going to be great because I think he wants to be there, and I think that's the key too.
Good points. All of your points from the first segment to this one. So with that, Charles, what other news is on your mind that you want to get out there?
Well, I think we have to talk about the Celebration Bowl TV ratings, up 37% from last year. That's huge news today. 2.1 million viewers.
Yeah, that's significant. Is you dropped the mic with that when it just threw out just numbers.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell y'all something, man.
This is especially after a lot of folks were concerned. I'll use that word in terms of quote unquote the dip in attendance over the last couple of years. One thing that we had in a discussion board before I came on the show, when I seen the graphic, I told everybody, since we're talking about these unicorns, Coach Prime, associated Michael Vick, and those type of hires, if you take out those 2 years, actually the last couple of years were the highest the attendance for the numbers. But more importantly, the rankings, as we were talking about ratings, which is what really counts in a lot of ways for television, to your point, is up. I saw, Dave, you want to jump in here, and then I'll go to AD in terms of news, and you can drop a thought on this as well before you get in your news.
Yeah, so for me, it ultimately boils down to this, man. Like last year when the Celebration Bowl happened on that particular weekend, they were going up against the NFL. They were going up against other bowl games. So with the college football playoff this year, they needed to move it a week up. And I know a lot of folks felt the way because now it's only 1 week between the SWAC championship and the Celebration Bowl. However, now you're not competing against anybody else. You have that slot to yourself at noon. Now you're back to being the first bowl game in the bowl season. And then everybody else can wrestle for everything else next week. When you talk about the FCS playoffs, you got the college football playoffs starting next weekend. You got NFL's about to start doing Saturday. They're doing a triple header on Saturday. So like you got all that stuff. They got to compete with each other. They're pretty much going to beat each other up from a rating standpoint. So I thought the bowl hitting 2 million, over 2 million was big, because it shows that there's some level of growth that's there, because it's still growing from that standpoint. I know there was a concern about that when a former coach came and gone, but now with them hitting 2 million, now there's more room to grow. Now with the first bowl game again, I think it's a good sign, to say the least.
Good points. Hey, Drew, you want to share some news of the day that you have, along with any thought that you want to share with the TV rating?
I'm giving my thought on the rating first, and I still have yet to see a stadium that seats over 1 million people. So while we are so enamored on how many butts we have in a seat, the most important number, when it's all said and done,
well, a good way to put that
is
like
how many eyeballs do we have watching? So for us to get back up over 2 million views again is probably the most significant thing that came out of last weekend with the ratings. I would love to see what the linear views were versus the streaming numbers, because I know they just gave us the one aggregate number, but I really would like to see if there's a shift in that as far as away from linear onto free or whatever other methods to measure these numbers. But Get into my news of the day. Dr. Cavill, since football season is over with, and for some of us, we can't even stand to look at our basketball teams because they are they playing all these paycheck games. Let's go to the springtime and let's talk about some baseball, Dr. Cavill. And the SWAC baseball tournament has a historic home, and it will now be at Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama. Why does that sound familiar? Well, number one, it is the oldest ballpark in the nation, over 100 years old, 1910 to be exact. It is historic from the perspective of black baseball, being the former home of the Birmingham Black Barons of the old Negro Leagues. And it's just something about, if I went in the field before the renovation, haven't been to the field since the renovation, obviously. But that being in that place just has a bit of nostalgia for me, maybe because I'm a history buff or something like that. But every time I walk through the corridor there at Rickwood Field, I just take time and just start reading all the plaques and all the different things that they have up on the wall there. So I'm excited about baseball going back to Birmingham. It sucks for me because now that I moved from Atlanta, I still got to get a doggone hotel for the baseball tournament. But other than that, I'm cool with it.
Well said. Yeah, Rickwood was home of what I remember to be a classic Prairie View Southern baseball championship game that went extra innings so late in the night, and some other things happened that they had to postpone it to be played and finished up the next morning. Record innings, 16, 17, and something like that. It was a wild game. And it was the genesis of Prairie View and Michael Robinson taking that baseball program out of, and you start to see the dissension, oddly enough, of Roger Cador in the Southern program for at least a little while during that baseball era. You saw a true change of the guard in Rickwood, and now it's back. So great points there. With that being said, Wilton, let you get in here on the game and give me some news that you want to talk.
Well, yeah, I know AD said that football season over, and it is, but some teams are still celebrating, big wins, and it just so happens to be Jackson State. So, Celebration Bowl champs have gotten a date for their Capital City parade. This news comes from HBCU Game.
Well done.
The city of Jackson will host a parade honoring Jackson State football team for their awe-inspiring HBCU national championship victory in Atlanta, where they defeated South Carolina State 28-7 to win their first Celebration Bowl. The parade, organized in partnership with Jackson State University, kicks off tentatively at 3 p.m. on Friday, January 17, 2025. The event will feature appearances by head coach T.C. Taylor and the national championship winning Tigers. Taylor's a former JSU quarterback and receiver who set records during his matriculation at the HBCU. Pike County, Mississippi native wins the Celebration Bowl in his second year, solidifying himself as the first Jackson State coach to snag the history-making title in Atlanta. Mayor Chukwe Antar Lumumba said that the parade is in response to requests from supporters wanting a tribute to the monumental accomplishment of the JSU Tigers football team, who made history by snagging the Celebration Bowl after their third trip to Atlanta.
Be happy you don't have to share it with the school across town like we did, Charles.
Shots fired. Good job, AD.
That's tough.
Bring it. I want to add one of myself that I thought was fascinating when you talk about football season not being over. T.C. Taylor and the gamesmanship he is. Travis Hunter's brother is Jackson State offer from HBCU game day. Travis Hunter, younger brother, Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter, has now received 2 offers from HBCUs, including Jackson State, where his brother made history. The younger brother announced via Twitter that he received his first offer from Tennessee State early on Monday. TSU is coached by former Heisman Trophy winner NFL star Eddie George, and shortly after Travis reported another offer, this time from Jackson State. JSU is coming off a thrilling win in the Celebration Bowl and claimed HBCU national title, adding more intrigue to Travis' recruit meant. I think that says a lot on a various different levels. We won't even get into it. But celebration goes out to Travis Hunter. He certainly shows his excitement, making sure that he's posting it all over Twitter. I know it's changed its name, but I still call it Twitter because I can. That being said, let's take our next break. We'll get back into it, and we'll review the poll rankings again as we acknowledge a couple of weeks ago, Virginia Union was the Black College National Champion of the mid-major division, according to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, HBCU Sports Football Poll Rankings, and we'll do it as Jackson State, unanimous in terms of holding all 12 first-place votes, 11 first-place votes, I should say, for the major division. And just about every at least I've seen them as the champion. I did see one place where Jackson State was ranked number 1 and received all votes except for one. And it went to Tennessee State.
I bet they had me Tennessee State, folks. Yeah.
I wonder who voted in that poll.
I was in the part of that poll.
Hey, all I can say is this Southern Heritage, if the promoter decides to get it right, we might even get that back next year. But it's my understanding it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot.
The price has gone up.
All of us would be proud.
The price yesterday's price is not today's price.
Must be the money. With that being said, let's go to that next break. We're having too much fun.
At AutoMasters LLC, our mission is to serve our community by providing quality automobiles at affordable prices. All of our vehicles are inspected and certified to offer you the confidence in knowing you have a quality vehicle. Our goal is to provide you with a seamless process and positive experience for your automobile purchase. Financing recommendations and specific vehicle inquiries are available at your request. You can find us at www.automasters06.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Also, please feel free to contact Terrence Miles at 601-927-7794. And oh yeah, tell him Sonia sent you.
Tickets are on sale now for the 4th annual NBA HBCU Classic presented by AT&T, featuring Morehouse College and Tuskegee University. Don't miss this action-packed event happening at NBA All-Star 2025 and filled with competitive matchup and marching band performances celebrating HBCU pride. See you in the Bay.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
It's Dr. Will. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, you have none other than Charles Bishop, David Rhodes, A.D. Drew, and Wilton Jackson II as the professors in the building. And guess what, Charles? Grades are in.
Yes.
They're in the system, so the semester is officially over for those professors out there. So I guess it all comes to play since the FCS HBCU and Division II HBCU program seasons are over, that the semester is officially over. So we could give some grades, but I'm going to take that for a break and at least give a grade based on the poll rankings. With that being said, let's do our final poll rankings with the 7, as we did on Sunday, announced it officially that Jackson State won Dr. Phil's HBCU Major Division Football Championship after winning the Celebration Bowl that featured the top 2 ranked programs, clearly by everybody. Jackson State and South Carolina State are ranked in top 25 FCS, even ranked above Tennessee State. That was also ranked, I might add. I had them ranked as well, and we'll see what that is. So Jackson State Tigers, 12-2, 8-0, 11 first place votes, 230 points. Let's look at the entire poll, top 7, if you would, Drew. give them that. Starting at 7, you have Southern Jaguars that finished at 86-71. Really did well in terms of what they did overall in terms of their matchups for the season. In terms of that, you have Alabama State at 7-5, 5-3, 172 points. They stay at number 6. Florida A&M Rattlers at 7-5, 5-3, 174 points at 5. At number 4, Tennessee State Tigers 9-4, 6-2, 283 points. At number 3, North Carolina Central Eagles 8-3, 4-1, 185 points. South Carolina State Bulldogs 9-3, 5-0, 219 points. And Jackson State Tigers with 12 wins on the season, finished at 12-2, 8-0. They were undefeated in all 8 SWAC games that counted in the conference ledger. 230 points, remain at number 1. Clearly close out things as the national champion. Fascinating to see here. You have 3 teams out of the Eastern Division, 4 total SWAC schools in there, 2 MEAC, 1 independent, makes up the top 7 in terms of this. So with that being said, in terms of that, we'll do one final round with everybody's thoughts on the top 7. I'm going to start with you, Dave. I think you've had your concerns over the last couple of weeks, particularly about the middle of the poll, looking at Tennessee State. So I imagine that may be still a concern for you, but I'll let you speak for yourself. What are your thoughts on the top 7?
Folks are not the MEAC contingencies are not going to like my take. I would move Tennessee State up to 2.
Wow.
Move South Carolina State down to 3. Move the school down the road to 4. And
so,
the reason,
I got to ask you this, and I'm gonna let you. I'm good that you're gonna say reason is, and I'm fascinated about this. Obviously, part of that is South Carolina State's loss.
Yep.
In the championship game, but Tennessee State lost their last game as well. So I'm intrigued about that.
So for me, so the thing is, Tennessee State, they went 0-1 in the postseason. Another institution went 0-1 in the postseason as well, and that was South Carolina State.
Correct.
So when you start looking at how those teams looked against their particular opponents, I mean, you can have that argument to put Tennessee State at 2. I mean, I think Tennessee State had a strong showing against Montana. It didn't go the way if they had a special team, they probably had a legitimate shot to beat Montana. Whereas South Carolina State pretty much got dominated against Jackson State. Like, it was domination across the board from our perspective. So I've already said that the school down the road had no business being at 3 in the first place. So I was going to drop them down regardless. But I would probably shift South Carolina State down to 3, move Tennessee State up to 2, and put school down the road to 4.
Just for folks to know, Montana beat Tennessee State 41-27, double-digit point in terms of that matchup. In terms of team stats, so people know, third down efficiency, Tennessee State was 3 of 14, Montana was 3 of 12. Total yards for Tennessee State was 277. Montana had 369 yards. 296 Tennessee State, 15 for Montana. Rushing was a minus 19.
Yeah, that was a killer.
State 254 for Montana. Time of possession was pretty even, 29-48 to 30-12. Penalties were pretty even, 8:45 to 4:34. But I'm not sure that game was as close as some people wanted it to be. But anyway, I'm going to go to Charles. I'm just saying. I like to look at data.
We know Jackson State, South Carolina State wasn't close. I was there.
But wait a second.
That's true.
Wait a second. South Carolina State was that dog going up until Saturday, and then
I know.
something happened. So I mean,
that three week layoff happened, Charles.
All of a sudden, Tennessee State got better.
No, but for me, it boils down to this, right? When you talk about, like, you got postseason play, you have postseason play, and Tennessee State had a strong argument for 2 then, in my opinion, right? But but at the same time, you still South Carolina State still has one more game to go, so they still have a season to complete. Whereas Tennessee State season is over. But we've seen what happened. We just saw what happened in the Celebration Bowl. South Carolina State did not look good at all in that game.
I had folks arguing that South Carolina State,
I was one of them. That's why I'm owning
South
it.
Carolina State should be number 1.
That was me. It was me, Charles. It was me.
No, it sounds like you mad personally. Charles,
No. It was me. Don't worry. Twitter let me know it was me.
Make sure we get everybody in.
And I can own up when I'm wrong. And obviously, I was very wrong when it came to what I saw in Atlanta on Saturday.
I just had to give you some hell, man.
No, it's fine. Look, listen. I covered the Panthers. I'm used to the hell. You know that.
Charles, any final thought? Are you good?
I'm good. I think.
Yeah, when you number 1, you just be like,
Charles should be going last.
I've been talking about all of this.
Y'all
fight it all out. I don't care about 2 through 7.
Fight it out.
I would save Drew for last because Wilton might come with the same type of take. So I'm going to go with him first to see whether he does or not. If he wants to play with us or whether he's going to take his ball and go on.
Hey, man, look, listen. Jack State clearly number 1. South Carolina State, they just ran into another dog, and that's just what happened. But I'm still keeping them at number 2. I will flip Tennessee State and put them number 3 over North Carolina Central because I give Tennessee State the edge that they made. They made the playoffs. So yeah, they played in the postseason. So I'm gonna give them that edge. North Carolina Central at number 4 and 5, 6, 7. I'm cool with.
Good stuff. AD Drew, your final
1 and 2. Despite Dave's making a good argument, I'm still leaving South Carolina State 2. Yeah. I'm putting Tennessee State 3. Say what you want to, but Tennessee State played a full FCS schedule. North Carolina Central did not.
Neither South Carolina State, but that's a whole different discussion.
That's a different discussion, though. But South Carolina State was in the championship game. That's why I'm giving them that benefit of the doubt.
For sure.
North Carolina Central played Virginia Lynchburg. Discount. Major discount. Bargain basement discount for that particular game. North Carolina Central lost at home 41-19 to Elon. Got it. Have to discount that. South Carolina State, I'll give you props on that one, on that loss. Here's where y'all gonna think I got my orange and green glasses on. I put FAMU 4 and Central 5. Outside of Jackson State, name a team in this top 7 who has defeated 3 of the top 7 teams.
Yeah, but you got a Valley.
FAMU. Wait a minute, hold up. Even with the Valley loss, which is a major blip,
Valley?
FAMU defeated.
You sure he's wearing a black and gold shirt?
Listen to me.
You thought I was bad.
Hold on, let him finish.
FAMU defeated Southern. FAMU defeated Alabama State. FAMU defeated the number 2 team in South Carolina State and lost to the eventual champion. Even with that Valley loss, I equate Valley. A Valley loss is the equivalent to a Virginia Lynchburg win when I look at it. North Carolina Central did not beat anybody on that board right there, Dr. Cavill. North Carolina Central drops the 5.
No, they beat one person. They beat Alabama State.
Oh yeah, they beat Alabama State. So
you know it's something to give them credit too. So you know.
It's still 3. FAMU still picked up 3. They defeated Alabama State. Southern is right where they should be. Southern defeated nobody on this board. They're right there where they should be.
All letters from Nashville direct them to AD Drew.
No,
I mean not Nashville.
Tennessee State is 3.
Man.
No, the Durham. Some of the Durham.
Yeah. Durham is going to be in my mailbox.
Yeah.
This has to be the best discussion I've seen over the top 7. And the ones in the middle are just wild to me. And AD took the final cake. And I was like, okay, I can see at least he left South Carolina State there. Then he went into the other matchups. And what's fascinating to me, you think about this. North Carolina Central went on the road and was literally a play away, 3 points away to be exact, to being in the Celebration Bowl themselves.
Mm.
The other thing about Tennessee State that I think is fascinating when we go back to Dave, and I'm gonna drop this final one here. Tennessee State and South Carolina State have a common opponent, which is Tennessee Tech.
Tennessee Tech, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee Tech beat Tennessee State 24-14.
Yeah.
South Carolina State defeated Tennessee Tech on the road 22-20. So I think if you take some time and really look at the schedule and don't get so fascinating because the team plays in the playoffs, because I'm not going to blame y'all for that white glaze, but sometimes I think that's tendency that white glaze.
Proximity to whiteness.
I'm going to tell y'all the proximity to rightness. Y'all need to check yourselves at times, and y'all fall a little too love it. And that's a different if you doing what you got to do and you playing win, but I don't give a lot of folks a lot of credit for a four-way tie for first place in the OVC Big South that most people do not get excited about. Credit that they got 3 teams in. I think it works that year, but they hadn't had more than one team in the playoffs in the last several years. That tells you in a lot of ways that is an anomaly. And then a loss in the playoffs does not get me excited. I want to give kudos to Tennessee State for a winning season, winning a championship, going to the playoffs, but I'm not going to give them no extra butter on their bread in the terms of the proximity of whiteness because they lose in the playoffs. Different if you're Virginia Union. You get 2 wins in the playoffs. You win over 2 historically white colleges, which is a statement. That's different to me. Or even a Miles College that gets a win in the playoffs. I can't do it for Tennessee State. Give me a win, then we can talk. With that being said, we'll take our next break and we'll come back on the other side.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
Morehouse College and Tuskegee University men's basketball teams were selected to compete in the 2025 NBA HBCU Classic presented by AT&T. The 4th annual NBA HBCU Classic will be played in the Bay Area as part of NBA All-Star 2025 and will once again celebrate the rich traditions, on-court athleticism, and commitment to excellence of the HBCU community. For tickets, visit nba.com/all-star.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Glad y'all allowed me to have one last lecture before the end of the fall semester. That was appreciated. Y'all set me up so nice there for what I like to do in class. With that being said, I did want to ask the question as we come to close up this last segment. In terms of the top 7, if we did the top 7 as you would do your grading scale in the class, my question for you is, how low is your lowest grade in terms of a top 7 ranking? I'd imagine number 1 is an A+. I think we'd all would agree with that. You may decide whether, 2 or 3 are A's. You might slide one up to A+. I'll let you kind of be there. But I'm interested in terms of your A-, B+. Do all teams in top 7 get essentially A's? You might give an A-. Or when you get into 6, 7 in terms of the top 7, is that a B+? I'm going to go ask each one of you to tell me your breakdown in terms of the lower part of the top 7. And you can throw in if you give an A+ class number 1. That's up to you. But I want to know in terms of those 6, 7 spots, are those A- or B+ for you? Starting with Charles, since he just entered his grade, I'm going to start with him and ask him to reveal a little bit of his grading framework. Where are you with the top 7 in terms of A-, B+? And I want the lab listeners to join in and tell me what their thoughts on top 7.
If I start from the bottom, I started looking at Southern. Southern distinctively moved themselves from a D all the way to a B+. I thought they got stronger as the season matriculated, and they got themselves all the way to the SWAC championship game. They just haven't run into the eventual HBCU national champion. But that was a strong season for Southern where they seemed to get better after midterms. The same can't quite be said for FAMU. I thought after Jackson State, it's like they quit turning in homework and they started sliding down the scale. So I think, they can probably go from, a B+ to, right in that. They did get the rivalry win over Bethune-Cookman, so I'll keep them at a C. But, they kind of worked their way down from an A. So those two jump out for me. Alabama State, considering all the injuries and things of that nature, you hold them sitting right there to kind of hold things together, hold them right there to C. Tennessee State, they definitely have an A- for me. Getting a share of the conference championship and turning the trajectory of that football program around. So those teams jump out for me.
Man, you're a tough grader. The team is right. What? 5. He gives them a C.
When you get a team behind them, a B.
My God, I hate to see them teams in the receiving votes or not even in the picture. He talking about they probably borrowing from Dr. Bill. They getting them square. Wilton, where are you in terms of your grade? Because Charles is off the chart.
Yeah, I don't think I'm as tough as Charles, and I'm a professor too. But I'm like, man, he pretty tough. I ain't gonna lie. I think all the 7.
You better read this syllabus.
Nah, for real. No, you better read it. Make sure you have it next to you every time you get an assignment, like in his class for sure. I think the top 7 teams, man, I would keep them all like every team in this top 7. Like even when I look at like 6 and 7, I think I would go no lower than at some range of a B. So like I'm Southern, like if I look at 7, like the beginning of the season for Southern, I would have put them at like a C. And because they were able to work their way up to obviously the SWAC championship, I would put them at like maybe like a B- or a B. Alabama State, I'm gonna put them at like a B because they were pretty much what we expected them to be all season. I mean, with all the injuries on offense, they never really got major continuity on offense, so I keep them at a B. FAMU, I mean, pretty much a B2. Tennessee State, A-. North Carolina Central, I give them an A, I believe. South Carolina State, I would still give them an A, and Jack State I would give an A+.
Say, man, you know I'm the dean on the show, but actually he elevated me to the provost. You two are coming to my office. We need to talk. 21 FCS HBCU program. If you're giving these teams at number 7 a C, that means 2/3 of your class are D's and F's.
I said B. I said a B in mine.
I'm gonna give you a little bit of the curve, Drew, because I don't want to have 3 people in my office. My students are flunking these classes. My professors teaching my undergraduate programs like they doctoral programs. I don't understand what's going on here. Hey, Drew, where are you at in terms of this? And please don't give your own team, because I know you will, a C. And they rank number 5.
Can FAMU be like my sibling that's taking my class and I not grade them?
Yes,
because you know, if your brother or your child is taking your class, it's tough to grade them because you expect so much more out of them. My mother was a teacher, and when I would bring home a B, oh my God, you know, like, Mom, that's just not my subject. But anyway, but if you ask me for an honest grade for FAMU, I have to give them a B minus. They started off, like Charles said, they started off good, and then they have studied on the midterm, i.e. the Jackson State game, and then they skipped the class later on in the season, and you had a pop quiz when they played Valley, and that quiz was a significant portion of the grade, so that hurt them coming down the stretch, and they had to study hard and cram for the final, which they did against Bethune and Alabama A&M. That was FAMU season on a grading scale.
I like that. At least you explain your
yes. So they snuck by with a B minus. They had like an 80.1. FAMU did. Let's go back down to the bottom. Southern, I give them about an 83. They get a solid B. Once again, Southern was that team who you do had that potential, and you just had to you had to get them to come by for office hours and do some extra studying, i.e. all those overtime games that they played. That's the extra studying that they did.
Yeah. They had to find a quarterback. Yeah.
Which was a study partner that we put them with. The quarterback is a study partner that we put them with. Right. And they were able to go ahead and get a B in the class. Can I give Alabama State an incomplete? Because we really don't know what their potential was, because they went through 5 quarterbacks. I really have to give Alabama incomplete with a pass.
Incomplete, at least in Texas Southern, the only way you can give a grade an incomplete is if they had a C. Yeah. For the grade, but they didn't turn in a couple of things. So I think this works for you. I like the way you break that down. I can work with it. They were at least passing in the class, so you can give them an incomplete because they have a couple of more assignments they needed to do. In this case, that was the fact that they were down to the 5th quarterback. I like
right. I give Central a B plus. They despite a little bit of a weaker schedule, they did the assignment. It's not their fault that I gave easy assignments. I can't blame that on them. They just didn't get as high of a grade as they needed to on that one assignment called South Carolina State.
Central always chokes on the main test, or I shouldn't say always, but for the last 2 years. Like that test was like, okay,
that was the test before the final. Yeah. If they would have passed that test, they would have tested out of the final, but they didn't pass that test. So now you got to take the final. Yeah. All right. I give Tennessee State an A minus. I mean, you shared it with 3 other teams. That group assignment that you did, you did not really show your effort in that group assignment. So I have to give y'all an A minus because I know you didn't pull your part, Tennessee State. You could have did a little bit better. I give South Carolina State a solid A. It's a lower A, but it's just there at an A. Although your final, I'm disappointed in your final, South Carolina State. And Jackson State, I mean, they passed everything. They set the curve.
They blew away the curve.
They set the curve. You have to take South Carolina. You have to take Jackson State and grade them separate than the rest of the class. So there it is.
That's not right. They blew the curve. All right, I promise. I get you out of this when we make this stuff. We're gonna do this Olympic style. So top three. I only want the top three. Way too early. Top three. What are your top three teams going in next year? For whatever reason, you don't even have to break it down in terms of your rationale. I just want to know, way too early, your thoughts in terms of the top three teams. Start with you, AD. Go ahead, give me your top three.
My top two were easy. Trying to find that third one is tough. Obviously, you have to start with the defending national champion. As
You can just say,
two.
like the Olympics, the third one got tested and disqualified. So give me your top.
I'm picking Central as my number two team, and if I was to pick a third team, come back to me on the third team, Dr. Kavil. Sure. Come back to me. I got to do some tabulations.
That's fine. Wilton, top three. You got to go to the video and see who actually was difference between 3 and 4.
Yeah,
it was tight at the tape.
Too early for me. Top three. Jackson State number one. Number two, I'm gonna give to South Carolina State. Still, and number three, I'm gonna pick another MEAC team. I'm gonna go North Carolina Central.
Interesting. Charles. No, Drew. I'm coming back to you. Your third.
I'm gonna go.
Hold on.
Andrew. Okay.
Yeah. My third would be Alabama State. You know, okay. and give Alabama State a quarterback and everything else. They're right there. But so that would be Jackson State, Central, Alabama State.
I like that. Charles, way too early.
Way too early. I would go Southern 3, Central 2, Jackson State 1.
Southern 3.
North Carolina Central 2, Jackson State 1.
Wow. Good stuff.
I like that Southern one.
I like that.
Well, I can see Southern being in the mix.
Quarterback away.
I can see it.
Quarterback away. Yeah.
Yeah. With that being said, we're going to call it a show. Thank you for listening inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday. Again, we will not have our Sunday edition. We might throw in a special one here and there if something really comes up big. We need to discuss some championship updates in terms of we get into basketball, even baseball season. We might do a show for you on that. But continue to look for us and check us out. Look for us on Thursday as we give you updates in the lab. We start to transition. Time to start preparing for some basketball. So get your basketball study guide, your notes, and all those things out there. We'll give you some indication of what that world is looking like. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta. That's Facebook and Instagram, DrKenyattacavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, that's on Facebook and YouTube. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles.
Course.
Wilton.
Lecture.
Drew.
Dismissed.